Hello comic fans, here's Earl Grey. It's been a while since I've dedicated a whole video on the aspects of coloring comics. And I promised a continuation, so here it is, some years later, sorry. But I want to focus in this episode on the work of that guy here, Bill Crabtree, who colored Invincible from Image, at least the first 50 issues. I haven't read that. And he colored Damned, published by Unipress as well, which is an amazing comic with amazing colors, of course. But I think for this video here, it's more than enough to focus on The Sixth Gun, even though I hate to speak out that title. It's so against the German tongue. The Sixth Gun, sorry. In Volume 3, Mr. Crabtree was interviewed, so maybe let's start with this interview. And he was asked what is in his mind the job of a colorist, and he answered, "I think the job of the colorist is to clarify and all the various meanings that carries. Describing a figure in light and shadow can clarify that image. And we've been shown what this can mean. For instance, these two panels here, we see the main protagonist in a bit lighter tone, just to underline the focus on him, or here her. And that she's red is, of course, not just to put her in the foreground, but that as well, of course. And these two scenes are in different locations, and to underline that, the tone of the night sky is a bit different. Here it's a bit more this greenish blue, and there is more some kind of purplish blue. And as to the idea of coloring as clarifying things and the storytelling, we can see what Crabtree brought to the table when we compare his work to what came before, because Bryan Hart, who has drawn 90% of the comics, he has done in the first 5 issues the colors as well. And it's decent coloring, no way around it. But there are some pages who are a bit muddled, unclear. To be fair, he has done some really great pages color-wise as well. That's Bryan Hart colored double page, for instance, with a great use of this green-red contrast. But when we compare this to what Crabtree does with the colors some issues later, we can see clearly see the improvement and clarification of things. He has a plan, some kind of idea what to do with the colors. A bit more than Bryan Hart, I would say. For instance, that character here likes to wear some pinkish and purple clothing, so all the scenery in the saloon has this bit of purple, pinkish palette, even though in the aforementioned interview, Crabtree states that he doesn't use palettes and he likes more to experiment and to be open for unusual color combinations. So we have this saloon sceneries, and clearly distinct from that what happens outside the building with there's no pink in it. And then our main character here goes into the swamp and discovers some southern mysteries, and the colors change into real darker tones as well, without getting muddled or unclear by any means. But so we have really a blending of the drawings and the coloring look at this page here. Totally different than the colors before, but really fitting to the ghostly atmosphere that should be conveyed here and is conveyed here when he visits this house, which is haunted almost by this old, dark magician with his mysterious butler. So, and we have a change of scenery, more light-hearted. She goes shopping, and the color changed back as well to this more light-hearted stuff. And somehow Crabtree's colors always shine when there's this mashup of sceneries, and we have the switch between the different colorings here. Even though it's clearly one hand and there's some similarity to this coloring, of course. And what I really like is that he doesn't do these color hues and these grades, these airbrush effects too much. It's more some kind of tone separation here. And he talks in that interview quite a bit about the different colors, for an example, white can have or can mean. You can say white, but you can mean totally different kinds of white. So it depends on the light, it depends on the situation, it depends on the things that are around, it depends on stuff you want to say, etc., etc. So, showing you these pages, I discover for myself once again how much I love the art in the Sixth Scan. Drawing and coloring, of course. Coming back to the interview, and there's another quote from Crabtree that I really like, he mentions that somebody on Twitter recently said they were lamenting that comic books don't have a soundtrack to them. And that makes it difficult to establish, a sort of emotional tone. And I said, well, yeah, they do. They're called colorists. I think you can really see how he uses the colors as sort of a soundtrack to make some emotional statement. For an instance, here's the ending of this scene here. Nothing too exciting on the first glance, but you really can see how this bit minimalistic approach underlines the bittersweet tone of that page. And especially this blurring, this frameless blurring out of that panel here. And especially when you see how the next chapter begins in this golden, more hopeful tone, more warmer tone, you can see what coloring can do. This story here without the colors wouldn't have the emotional impact. As far as a goofy and weird comic like The Sixth Gun can have some emotional impacts on you, but yeah, when you read that, and I was quite pulled in and was gripped by the story, and the colors had their part in that success, in playing with my heartstrings, so to speak. And here, this is a great idea, color-wise, on this double page, to link all the panels with this red thread, so to speak, of this reddish water, or maybe it is lava, really, which connects all these panels, which looks great and makes sense in terms of unifying the whole look of this double page here. In the interview, Crabtree is asked about his own favorite pages color-wise, and he said that he is particularly proud of these two pages here, because it's a bit this main character Becky here in different scenes of this kind of universe that they had built, and the colors help to identify where she is. So we have a sudden change of the color schemes and all that, but it blends beautifully together to one page each. And each panel can stand on its own. They talk a bit about how initially the sky here should have been blue, so there would have been a bit more unity between these panels, but Crabtree chose to make it a bit more romantic, romanticize it a bit. And and he strikes me as a colorist that doesn't shy away from using some pink, sometimes really mean pink, but and unusual color combinations here. That was a totally random flip, but you can see what I mean. And there's something that I wanted to mention earlier, is that in these oversized books here, they used muddy paper, so the colors are a bit more muddy as well. So you just can imagine how these colors look on glossy paper. But to make this clear, I really prefer this muddy paper in this comic, because especially the colors, in my mind, they look more subtle, and I hated to shift the glossy paper in the light of my reading lamp to avoid reflections and stuff like that. So this paper here and this sort of printing is really the way to go, in my opinion. To wrap up my short introduction to the color art of Bill Crabtree, and again in the third volume is a short foreword in comic form by Chris Schweitzer, who is doing right now this Mars Attack series on, was it Dynamite? Which is really recommended. And this is a genius idea, I think, to do a comic as an introduction for a comic. And he speaks specifically about the colors of Bill Crabtree, who became lighter in this issue here, to make the lines more clear. At least that is what Chris Schweitzer feels, and you can see this, that we can enjoy the colors and the lines as well. The line work of Bryan Hart is clearly visible, and it doesn't get obstructed behind the colors of Bill Crabtree. But actually that was never the case in my book, so I love the colors and I love the line work, but I can see what Chris Schweitzer means, especially when I see some pages like this one here. I can go on and on about the colors in these books, how they work sometimes as a soundtrack that conveys the necessary emotion, and sometimes just bring the weird and whacked out stuff to the forefront and to underline the craziness of it all. And this here is a particularly weird depiction of particularly weird events in a particularly weird and enjoyable run. No, it's not really weird. It's just good fun comic. Even though I've stated that in my top 10 video recently, it could have been wrapped up after volume 4. So, but now what can we do? But look forward with some joy to the hopefully concluding 6th chapter of the 6th gun. So now my tongue needs a rest, and thanks for listening and watching. Goodbye.